Good morning, everybody. This is the One People Radio Show. It's Chris Hales here. I'm the anchorman today, because I'm the only one with reliable internet today. It's great to be here. Good morning to wherever you are. Good evening, wherever you are. Good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome. Really interesting show this morning. The crew in Morocco are with us. The internet connection is, yes, it's as dodgy as ever. But we also have backup folk who've jumped in to bring their energy to the show, if need be, and we'll be passing through those guys anyway. But the first thing we need to do is bring in the guys. Good morning, folks. How are you? Bob, Lisa, everybody there?
Hi, Chris.
Welcome to the show.
Here.
Hey, how are we?
Good.
Good. Okay, that's Bethany Truex who'll be talking about some flash mobs. Bob, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good. Excellent. You guys have been dropping in and out a bit, so we'll just see how it goes. So who's with you there, Bob?
Let's see. I've got Brian sitting here next to me.
Morning, well, gosh. Good late night, Chris. And the rest of the people out there listening from wherever you are. We actually have a sleeping Heather as well, so you missed one, but she is
Yep. We lost the last bit of that, Brian. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. We got a straggler with Mark Hoza coming into the room as well.
Sure. Look, I guess the folks there will come and go. It's what, 1 o'clock in the morning there?
6 after, actually.
Yes, 6 after 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's not early. Anyhow, thanks for staying up late, guys. Also with us we have Brad, who will be talking about the Absolute Data Exchange. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Very well, very well. Brad's in Australia like myself. As you could tell by the accent immediately, Brad hasn't been on before, but he's very active with the Absolute Data Group, and he'll be bringing a bit more info from that. And we also have with us Jerry Jones. Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Hello. Good morning. Good evening, everybody. I'm great, thank you.
Jerry was on the last show and read out one of the poems that she's written. She's actually back with another one today, which is a fine effort, and we'll be having a look at that in a minute. So, anything exciting to report from Morocco, guys?
Well, before we get into any updates, and while we still have a connection, if there is any message that I would give to everyone is, are you having fun? Because regardless of what circumstance you may be in, humans can be in a foxhole in the midst of war and still find a reason to laugh. They can be in the worst situation ever, the worst situation you could possibly imagine. Someone could, have just had an act, and you can still find the humor. Sometimes that's all that you can do. Sometimes it's all that, you just have to laugh at the situation. But I tell you what, when you do that, when you change that energy, right? And I don't care what it is you're going through. I'm not trying to be insensitive with anyone about any of the trials or tribulations that you're going through. But in any circumstance, you have the choice to find the fun in it, to find the humor, to change the energy. And one of the things that before internet cuts out or anything, that I really want, that I've really come to appreciate in the couple days that I've been here, so much can be accomplished in that energy. So much will support you in that energy. And it's a choice that you make. And I know this isn't an update, and I'm coming into some heavy stuff right off the bat, but I wanted to get it said while I had the chance to say it.
What Bob is saying is that we've been laughing our asses off here pretty much nonstop. But getting a lot of work done, too. So it's a combination of efforts that allows us to enjoy every moment.
So the rule of the day is everybody's got to have fun.
If you're not having fun, if you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, we had a great debate last night. We were kicking around some issues, and it was a rare occasion I've been able to talk to the guys on sort of more than one-on-one because the internet's so dodgy. And debate raged for some time. And guys, I really enjoyed that. We may get the opportunity to talk about a bit of that today if we've got time and if the connection holds. And you Bob, you're quite right to jump in because the rate it's been going up and down. Who knows? So, look, does anyone else on the desk over there in Morocco want to chime in just at the moment, as Bob said, while the connection's up?
Well, yeah, I mean, I put my first blog post out since
Try that again, Brian.
Can you hear me now?
You're good now, yep.
So I was saying I put my first blog post out this morning, I think it was, since I got here. A lot of people have probably abandoned going to my blog for updates, but I gave a little update in there. Anybody that hasn't gone and checked that out. Right now, really what we're doing is we are the desert in a couple days, and one update that I wanted to give is in regards to that contract that Heather finished up today. So I know that you have somebody coming on to talk about actually Project XIII. I'm sure it's on your agenda at some point. We put out a video interview with Bill, American Kabuki, and Caleb tonight. And the only thing that's holding him up at this point from officially launching is finalizing the merchant account. And I know we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, but Heather put together a contract between Caleb and her husband, and it's basically another tool that people are going to be able to use here in the very near future that allows them to. It's a two-party contract, and it sets the stage for mutual best interests to ensure that people understand exactly what they're signing on for, and there's nothing in there that's designed to confuse either party, and it's just a real beautiful tool that's going to be used to make sure that both sides understand the exchange of energy that's to be accomplished between the mutual agreement. I read it for the first time a couple hours ago, and it's brilliant. Heather doesn't want it to go out yet because she's still working on the final edits, but we'll have it to go out here in the next couple days.
Yeah, Brian, can you identify exactly the purpose of the contract?
It's just a standard two-party agreement. So it's like a new paradigm two-party agreement that it's just a reflection of a lot of the UCC language and lingo that really helps to cut out a lot of the confusion when it comes to two-party contracts. Some of these documents can be 4, 6, 7.
Yeah, try again, Brian.
I was just going to say something with the contract part.
That's Mark, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Everybody, this is Mark Hoser. If you haven't heard him before, Mark's over there with the crew at the moment. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I was talking with Heather about the contract. It's a very significant thing that's happening with this contract. It's essentially, as I understand it, the beginning of the IUV exchange, really. It's the new...
Mark, try that again.
All right. Where did it cut out, Chris?
You just said it's the beginning of the IUV exchange, and then you cut out.
Oh yeah, it's the beginning of the IUV exchange in that it's the replacement of the UCC system, which has been closed. It's now moving into the IUV exchange, and the way of contracting as this is rolling out is using very simple contracts that are directly energetic exchanges between two parties. So not corporations shielding, not people hiding behind corporations, but actually between two parties. So this is the first transaction, and it's between, well, it's involving Caleb and Youssef, and this is a contract between two individuals, and it's preparing for the Project XIII. And then the cool thing about this, instead of having a 26-page contract starting out the relationship in a business, this is a one-page, it's a declaration that all material evidence is available now for this contract to start, and then any changes in the relationship and changes in understanding will be amendments relating back to exactly like how the UCC system works. The UCC system actually is really very similar, except it was totally hidden when it comes to, this will be revealed to, this will be transparent and available for, my understanding is this is the new UCC system. It's just a new system. I think she mentioned it as, what did she call it at the beginning? In the contract it says IUV.
I think it's IUV, two-party mutual agreement.
Let me give you an example, Chris. It's a mechanism that we can begin doing under the new system. Now, for instance, I'm in a situation right now where my house is being sold, the house that I'm renting. My landlord is selling it. So I made an offer to him, and I told him that I'd like to buy it. But I'm not going through the bank, and I'm not going to try to procure a loan. I gave him the foreclosure flyer. I gave the real estate agent the same flyer and let them know that the system was foreclosed on and exactly where the value was coming from. Okay? Now this contract is there that I can use between the landlord and or the real estate agent that I can now put together an exchange where I identify myself, right, as the value, the source of all of the funding, right, and any representation in units, starting in units of one, regardless of what unit that may be, whether it be drachmas, euros, it's one unit, or however many units of value, okay, that any representation that is made or derived is an extension or a representation of my being. Therefore, it is protected. And the wording of the contract works embodiments, value, and or representations of value are protected as an extension of self. And in that way, that contract can be now signed and an exchange can be made in whatever form, whether it be FRNs or whatever, but because of the way that the contract is worded, that those FRNs that are created out of this exchange, right, are representations of my value, which is protected under the IUV system. It cannot be abrogated, subjugated, the whole lingo. But basically it is a tool that we can now use to start the IUV exchange. It's not it's not a digital form. This is still paper, but it will still work in a similar fashion.
Yep. Well, that's actually a really, really interesting development, because one of the things that our conversations in the last few days, it's pretty clear that we've actually moved ahead entirely of the UCC concepts, although, various aspects of it are still available as tools if they need to be used because they're still valid. But I've actually been waiting for something like this to appear to help us define the way we're going to, if we are in absolute, to work in absolute and stay in absolute. And what I'm getting out of what you just said, Bob, is that it's a contract, part of which is saying, okay, you can use representations of my value, but only as I allow and only transparently. Is that a reasonable interpretation?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, because the thing that's been missing out of our entire financial system, our entire political system, is transparency. So, and again, there's with a nod to the fact that in the real world you've got to work with real things at times, but if you've got control of those real things and there's an agreement in place, everybody knows where they stand. So that's a very interesting thing.
Back to my example.
Yep.
Now, in my case, I'm dealing with a piece of quote-unquote property, right? But the actual property, the land, that was formerly described as whatever their legal terms describe it as, the land itself is the earth, okay, which is an embodiment. It itself is an embodiment. So now, I'm going to include this in my contract, that we are entering into a contract with this land, right? And whatever is built on top of that land, okay, the creation on top of that land, or the co-creation on top of that land, I am now taking position of custodian of, along with the earth that it's built on.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm offering however many units of value, which, he can use whatever form he wants, whether he wants it in digital or FRNs or however, depending on what country you're in or what kind of exchange you want to do. But the way that the contract is worded, there is no doubt as to where the value is coming from, right? As to what it's being used for,
what the expectations are,
and what it's all spelled out very, very transparently.
Yeah. One other thing too to add on to that, Chris, is that what people will find with contracts, it's usually heavily weighed to be in in the favor of either the contract.
Yep, keep going.
And then this one is designed to level the playing field between both parties. So there isn't any particular interest that's swayed in any one direction or the other. It's just right down the middle. Here's where we both stand in this. Here's what we are agreeing to, and no need to sign it without prejudice because it's so straight and to the point. Each party knows what they're getting themselves into.
That is a true two-party accommodation agreement, then, which is,
Correct.
as you say, a very, very, very level playing field with complete disclosure in both directions. So, look, that's a very, very interesting development, and we'll look forward to more information on that. Should be very good. Now, do you want to give an update on, for those that haven't seen the video yet, the interview between AK, American Kabuki, and Caleb? I understand there's just some last minute bits and pieces of paperwork they're sorting out with some of the distribution outlets involved in the software.
Well, one of the things I spoke with Caleb today, and we spoke a little bit one-on-one, about how he got his idea. And I'm going to tell you, it's brilliant, because what he's actually done is you take your handheld phone or any handheld device. It was never really conceived that device right now is better than most of the quote-unquote servers were when the internet first started. I mean, some of these handheld devices, you can get 1632 gigabytes of data. Now, each of those handheld devices now is a server. I mean, it can be used in such a way that all of your, you can have your own server and control of your own data, that it is not sitting in some centralized location where it is bartered, sold, shared, and harvested, because now it's secure on your device, encrypted, and whatever device you decide that you wish to share it with. And there's no way that, even the people who are running Project XIII cannot access that data because it's self-contained on each individual device.
Yep, okay. Mark, did you want to put in any more information on the Project XIII at this point?
Yeah, I can. How's the reception though?
Pretty good.
Seems like when I come over closer, it goes out a little.
Yeah.
I'll go on the other side.
Yeah. Mark, I think the main thing is to, one of the things I'm noticing is if you...
How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. If you speak too loudly, it actually clips a bit. And
cool.
So
then I can sit back a bit more.
No, you're fine exactly where you are. Just don't kind of say anything too loudly from there, and it should work fine.
Am I fine how I am as well?
You're fine there.
No, that's just a joke. So I was just seeing if I'm good. I can stop developing as well. So I can be fine. I'm just looking at Project XIII right now, where it is as the release is going to be a release as it needs to release now. There's Caleb's very clear that he needs to get it out and started, and then that will be that will begin that will make the energetic start of it quickly. So that's details-wise from my conversation with Caleb this afternoon, is that Silverlight will probably be about 1 to 2 weeks after the initial launch, which the Silverlight version will be for PC and Mac. It can happen quite quickly because it's similar programming. There's a similar programming to the Windows Mobile, which is what he's been working on himself, and that's finished. He's just doing final run-throughs, going through and through, making clearing in everything that he can find, and we're working together on that. The iPhone team has theirs done, and that's all. So it's all going. There was a big hiccup with payment, setting up all of the actual functionality of the website with the payment gateway. There were a lot of different offers coming through for. I don't know how much I should say about that. To do with just Caleb's side of it. But it is interesting to note that there, it seems that some would like to take over the development of it. But Caleb's very clear that to not do that, because the vision of this is incredible. What this will release for everyone around the planet is an option to have a secure communications platform that is just absolutely unprecedented in the way it functions for the average person. There probably are similar systems, or there's probably there are secure networks available, but they're not available to the average person because everything to do with the internet. Is our internet connection going funky? Because right now it's getting a lot of resistance on our side. What's that? Chris?
Sorry, there's a very high background noise on your signal, very high. And
yeah, I know.
Actually, it's just died away now, so yeah, press on at the moment. Okay, not sure what that was.
Yeah. Well, there's sort of what this Project 13 means. It's really not like the most amazing platform. When people get it, they'll be thinking, well, yeah, I can do this, but it's not quite as good as this other service right now. You know, they might be tempted to compare it with everything that's available. Like there's a friend showed me Instagram recently, and I thought, man, this is fun. It's actually really fun to use. I was enjoying it. But then, because of what I know, I look at everything that I'm doing on there, and knowing that everything is all about data harvesting and it's owned by Facebook. You know, I know the reason why so much effort goes into those platforms, like and why they're all free. And so I have, knowing that, I'm just absolutely excited about Project 13 coming out for my own communications with other people I work with. And I know that when people realize in businesses and in groups that need secure communications, that when they realize what Project 13 does, they're going to be absolutely pumped, because what this means is that they can use the internet, which is used to be totally unsecure, and anything you'd put through the global worldwide internet would be susceptible to interception in different ways. Now that goes by a very high level encryption, and it ends up being available to who you're sending it to, and it's very hard to get it otherwise. And it's not stored on a single server anywhere. The way that the servers are going to work, is there any way to stop that?
Hey, Chris, can you hear us right now?
Yeah, it's coming and going, folks. The only thing you could do is, in fact, it actually drops off when I start to speak, which is most interesting. It may just be your automatic gain controls kicking up a lot, but it seems to be bringing up the background and not your voice. But look, I'll just chip in every now and then when it gets too high and reset it.
Maybe Brian should add something.
I got one thing I want to add. Mark did a great job explaining it, but just to add on to that, because I didn't completely understand it until Caleb really walked me through it and walked me through the platform. It's kind of like that, if anybody's ever seen that movie Eagle Eye. And the premise is that essentially that the people that are watching and harvesting all the data, they follow every aspect of our lives that we do through our phones and through our social media and through our internet searching and so on and so forth. I mean, they know everything about us, and it's sold for profit. And it's just gotten so completely out of control, at this point. This is the first time. I mean, he showed me the back end of the site, what he sees as the moderator of the server, and he could see comments being put up and pictures being put up, but it all comes in as a source code, which means absolutely nothing, which is like a random set of numbers and a random set of letters. So just to kind of illustrate how secure this is, if anybody loses their password, there's no way. I mean, they're all.
Okay, now they've gone very quiet. Yep, you dropped out just a little. Yeah, we dropped out a little bit, but the big message is don't lose your password. Yeah.
Yeah, because he can't go in the back end of the server and get any personal data from anybody whatsoever. He can see that there's activity, but there's no personal data shared. And anybody that has built an existing system and an existing server would look at this idea like Caleb's nuts, because there's no revenue to be generated on the back end off of all the data. So it's the first of many steps in the right direction to ensure that people's privacy and what they do through their phones, through their internet, through their social media stays theirs and isn't sold for multiple billions of dollars in revenue and profit on the back end. Some people are very passive to the idea of their data being harvesting. That's simply because they don't understand the extent as to how bad it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it translates extremely well down into the business realm. So as Mark pointed out, that side of people who are actually doing commerce, exchanging energy with one another, that's a platform you want to be on.
Yeah. And then just like an iPhone, that has, there's their slogan. There's an app for that, and now you can just get an app to brush your teeth and tell you that you look good from time to time, and whatever it is you want an app to do, it'll do that. His platform is going to be developed in such a way that anything and everything can be added to it as the more of the story is told, as more development goes into it. It's the options of this kind of access to this kind of secure server are essentially limitless. There's nothing that's stopping this type of format to now provide every aspect that the internet currently does and social media does. In the way that has been going on for so many years now.
Okay, just had a question from the chat about password recovery, and what Caleb's saying about this system is there will be no password recovery, because if there's password recovery, it means that the system administrators actually can get at the password.
Yeah, exactly.
This is fully encrypted in, fully encrypted out, and there's no participation at content level by the server or anyone managing the server. Yep. So that's the it's the price we pay for privacy. There's going to have to be some diligence there.
Yeah, you really will have to take a lot of attention to making sure that you have your password recorded somewhere where you get access.
Yeah, it's just an extra step you have to take along the way.
Yeah. And when you're on your phone, like if you're using it on your phone, one thing too, like you want to have your phone also password protected when you're, just with password, so that when you go to log in, you've got this long key, and you can make it so that it saves the key, so that when you go to it, you don't have to type in the key, the encryption key each time. But because of that, you also need to be mindful to have a password on your phone. I mean, this is just kind of the stuff that we need to start learning about a little bit if we want to have private data. I mean, there's nothing forcing anybody to use this as one thing, so it's a made. As we learn what it means to have our data, that it is ours and it is private, and we don't have, you can't can't send a request for your password to be emailed to you, because that would then presuppose that somebody else, as you were saying before, that somebody else could get access to your data. That's not the case with this. Caleb doesn't have access to your data even as the owner of the whole company, as the person who runs the whole project. So when you have your phone, you have a password protected phone, so that if somebody takes your phone or borrows it, that they don't have access to your whole Project XIII site.
Yep, well, it's a full responsibility situation, which is the paradigm we're heading into. You actually have to take care of your own stuff. Now, guys, mindful that we've got other things to go on with. Is there any we've had a bit of news on the Universal Exchange, and that there's a contract being formed, which is going to be quite pivotal in starting up this new platform that sits on Project XIII. Anything you have to add about the Universal Exchange itself at this point, or are we just still in waiting mode to get Project XIII out?
Yeah, Chris, I just want to make sure, I don't know, I missed a couple of radio shows because I was, before I got to Morocco, I don't know if you guys have addressed yet the difference of what Project XIII and the IUV Exchange
Oh, yeah, no, I've been working quite hard on differentiating those two things.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that there's been a lot of questions come up as to why there's $1 a month charge for Project XIII, whereas the argument has been made, well, people shouldn't have to pay for it. And I think that it's probably be best served for everybody that's listening to the call and everybody listens to the archive for it to be explained as to the difference between the two and why there's a cost for Project XIII, which is essentially just a platform that will manage the IUV exchange.
Indeed. So just a note on the chat room. Chat room is moving by so fast. Very difficult for me to keep track of anything here. I'm kind of writing the signals. So just bear in mind that we can't effectively monitor the chat. The guys in Morocco can't run the chat room because it actually compromises the Skype link because the internet link's so dodgy.
Yes.
So, have you guys got to add anything at the moment about Project XIII or the IUV, or shall we move on to the next part?
Maybe we should talk about it a little more.
Well, do you want me to address the question that keeps coming?
You are starting to fall out of touch, guys.
Yeah, a lot. Can you hear me now, Chris?
Yeah, you said something about addressing a question.
Yeah, in regards to, the question that continues to come up and kind of crosses our desks here just over the course of the last week or so, in regards to why there's a $1 a month charge to access the Project XIII platform. So what I basically just brought up to you. So if you want me to just quickly go over that, and then if there's any questions.
Look, if there's still people asking questions, yes, please go over it.
Okay. So the Project XIII and the IUV exchange are two separate things. Project XIII is the platform that's going to be used to manage the exchange on the IUV exchange, but it's not the IUV exchange. So Project XIII is something Caleb's been working on. Blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, this guy's an animal, working nonstop since we've been here in Morocco through being sick. And he's just hammering this away. It's his baby. And he's essentially what it represents is the energy that he's put into this project. He deserves to, considering the fact that no data is going to be harvested from this thing. I mean, the reason why Facebook doesn't have to charge for Facebook is because they make billions of dollars on the back end from selling all the advertising. Well, essentially, that can't be done with Project XIII. So the way that he gets the exchange of energy for the energy he has put in is by charging a very nominal $1 a month fee. 9 months out, having a charge, depending on now data, might not be necessary, but in the meantime, he deserves to be compensated for his the energy that he's put in. But Mark, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, there's an angle that I'd like to bring up about that particular issue that seems to have helped some people, and it helped me a lot when I first came to it. Is that if you look at really what people are asking, what I'll say myself, if I want Project XIII to be funded by the IUV exchange, what essentially I'm asking is for everyone in the world.
Okay, Mark, just wait a moment, if you can still hear me. Oh no, they're dropping out. Yes, we'll have to give them a few moments to try and reconnect. But folks, we've had this discussion last week and the week before, I think, and I'm not too sure what Mark's exact angle was going to be on this particular thing. Mark, are you back with us? Whoa! Time to reset their server. Okay. We'll have to leave them go for a minute. Okay, we'll pick them up again in a minute and continue that conversation. So what we'll do at the moment is go right back to the beginning of the show where I was going to kick off into some updates and a couple of items for you. First of all, last week on the show we actually had a caller ring in and read a poem that she had written. In fact, to be honest, Jerry, what was the poem called last week?
I read two of them to you. One of them was Peace on Earth. When you asked you wanted a peace poem, I can't remember the ones I actually read. I read a couple of the other ones that I've written. You mentioned you wanted a peace declaration at some point, so I spouted out the peace poem that I already had written, and you were like, oh, instant manifestation.
Yes, it was. So, it was indeed. And then you came back with yet another one.
I did. I have a book full of
the show. Yep. This one was actually, though, your version of the Declaration of Peace, and which I thought was really good. And I actually invited Jerry on to actually read this poem to you directly this time, rather than through Skype, clearer signal, so we can hear a bit better, because the phone-ins are usually a bit rough on the audio. Anyhow, welcome, Jerry. It's great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very honoured to be part of this. So what I did was I changed the words around a little bit more. Rather than to be dreaming for peace on earth, I'm making a declaration of peace on earth. So how the new version goes, peace on earth. This is a declaration of peace on earth. Now is the time we witness the birth of peace and love for all mankind, and living life with peace of mind. What is this peace of which I speak? It's cooperation. Just take a peek and see the people who love and care for each other. It's everywhere. No longer do people choose to fight throughout the day and all the night with fellow humans. We now know it's wrong, because we're all here to get along. So send out love to all around you, whether Christian, Muslim, Hindu or Jew. We're brothers and sisters, all one race, all of us human and full of grace.
Very good, very good. And followed by your Declaration of Absolute Freedom.
Right, well, I was reading through my Declaration of Absolute Freedom and enjoying every moment of it, but as I do, I tend to make things go into verse. So this was what came out. I might need to add a few things. People might say I've missed a few important things out, but this is, without making it too long, is how it came out.
Yeah, Jerry,
Declaration.
Just before you go, I keep getting emails from people who are telling me that they do, as you just indicated, they actually reread that declaration quite frequently, and that's just a lovely thing to hear, that it's got so much meaning. So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to put that in, because it kind of jumped out at me when you said you kind of reread it. So.
Yeah, I read it pretty much every morning, and now I read this one as well, because it's easier to read.
It's yours. Do it.
Yes. Declaration of Absolute Freedom. I am free. This is my declaration. Now is the time for humanity's liberation. All people of Earth are one and are free to do what we do and to be what we be. We are the one people, co-custodians of Earth. Each one of us has been this since the day of our birth. We are eternal essence, embodied, absent limits. Planet Earth is our home. We need not license permits. The Creator is all it is, eternal essence, absolute. It is impossible for this to refute. Together we establish, serve and protect peace and unity, and the right of free will choice. We live in love and harmony. We are absolutely free and live in abundance. We own our own bodies, and each day we enhance our personal value by nurturing our home, our beloved Gaia, where we freely roam. I am what I am, and you be what you be. You are simply you, and I am simply me. We are all free for ourselves to speak. Though we're connected, we are each unique. I serve the one people each moment of now. Being part of humanity, this is my free will vow. We manifest all perfection, and it's understood that this is for one people's greatest good. That's it for now.
That's great, Jerry. Bob, did you get that? Are you back with us, folks?
I did.
You did? How was that for you, Bob? Did you hear Jerry's poem?
We're not getting so much back from them.
Not getting so much back from you, Bob. Try that again.
I'm actually going to turn people on Dr. Seuss.
Bob, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Did you hear Jerry's poem?
Yes. I thought it was brilliant. Wonderful. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. That's beautiful.
You're welcome. I love to share. And if anybody's got any suggestions of adding or changing or whatever, I'm very quick to do some adjustments. And anything anybody wants to be written, just tell what you want to say them out like this.
I have one suggestion for you, Jerry. This is Brian.
Yes, hi Brian.
Don't do anything different whatsoever. That's my only suggestion.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I was going to say that, Jerry. I mean, this is your declaration, and you look if you're happy to take suggestions from other people for bits you might have missed, that's actually entirely up to you, of course. But just remember it's yours.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing about.
But if anybody wants to use it,
Yeah.
If anybody wants to use it, they're welcome to take it on for themselves as well, because whoever says it means it for them. If you spout it out, it's coming from you.
Exactly. Look, well, I'll be having BC Riga, who's the fantastic webmaster of the IUV website. I'll have post that up so people can find it, and if they could read it out to themselves every morning and get a big boost for the day. Because the thing I liked about it particularly is probably the third last stanza, where our personal, that's right. Our personal value by nurturing. Each day we enhance our personal value by nurturing our home.
Yeah, where we freely roam.
Where we freely roam. Exactly. I mean, that's got great meaning, and that because that relates directly back to how the IUV exchange will ultimately work. More so a little bit down the track when the shift that we all know is coming has really kicked in. But look, great sentiment, and it's really terrific to have these kinds of contributions. Really good. Yeah,
I'm delighted to be able to share. Thank you so much for having me share this with you tonight.
You are most welcome, Jerry. Now, Jerry, what I'll do is I'll put you back on mute. And Bob, did you want to say something else to Jerry?
On the lighter side, we all read the Ben Fulford's post and had a really great laugh.
Oh, that was classic, absolute classic. Okay, look, Jerry, I'll just get you to pop on mute so we don't get too much background noise. But I know where Bob's going with this because there's something really funny happened yesterday.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay. Yeah, Bob, Ben Fulford. Hello. Try again, Bob. Ah, damn. Okay, folks. Well, I know where Bob was going with this. Ben Fulford is a commentator who's got lots of very interesting contacts, and I've been looking at his stuff for years. There's some interesting information, there's some pretty obvious disinformation, and occasionally some stuff that's just plain funny. And there was a paragraph in his post from yesterday, I believe, which was actually about the group in Morocco, and it is actually wrong at every level. There actually isn't one thing in the paragraph that's reality, and it's a great example of how information can be put out there that is just completely, well, call it wrong, disinformation, whatever. And I'll just read it out here verbatim so you can get the gist of the grandeur of this particular piece of whatever it is. It says, there are also 11 members of the One People's Public Trust. Now, the One People's Public Trust doesn't exist anymore, so they've missed that bit. The people behind the so-called galactics pushing for their new version of a financial system. What a comment. Galactics pushing for their version of new version of a financial system. Not many galactics around here, folks. Now, they're apparently on the run from both hitmen and law enforcement agents in Ethiopia, according to a CIA source. Okay, not in Ethiopia, not on the run, and no one's chasing them. A secret Italian... guys, I'm just reading out this Ben Fulford piece of fiction here. Senior Italian P2 Lodge member says the people in Ethiopia are there to find the original, in an effort to find the original Ark of the Covenant. So apparently you guys are on an archaeological expedition of some kind, is that right? In Ethiopia?
Well, actually, the Ethiopian police has sworn us to secrecy at the moment. So, I'm sorry. We can't talk about that right now.
At least it ends with this statement. At least both sides agree there is some form of high-level intrigue going on in Ethiopia of all places. We will try to find out more next week. Might send a note to Ben to just listen to the show, and just to let them know that there is a group of individuals, eternal essence absence limits, who are actually occupying shall I say, co-caretaking a piece of property in Morocco, going through a period of very hard work on energetic aspects of the shift and on Project XIII and the UV exchange, and not so much on the run from hitmen.
Well, I got to tell you, Chris, these MI6 guys are not what everybody says about. I mean, one of them, they're really, really awesome dudes. One of them makes an incredible chicken piccata, so we're really enjoying ourselves.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. Well, all I can say is I don't know where Ben's getting his information from. Whoop! They went dark again. One, two, three, four. Okay, I think you're back again. Hello.
We just sent our love to Benji. He gave us a really good laugh.
Yeah, I read it and thought, oh, well, I hope you find the Ark, is actually what I thought. That'd be really interesting. So, if you do find it, let's know what it does. Always sounded like a very interesting device.
We'll keep you guys posted.
Well, if it's in Ethiopia, I don't think we're likely to find it here.
No, it's a little distant. So it is quite amazing how much of this stuff that floats around. What it does do, of course, is cast doubt on all sorts of statements that people make that they attribute to so-called reliable sources.
What I love is what Heather always says. People are being exposed for who they really are. It will become very plain and very evident, for everyone to see, the absolute truth of what is.
Indeed. In fact, I'm looking forward to some absolute buffoonery on the mainstream media at some point. That'll be better comedy than this, I suspect. That'll be some fun. Really good. Now, if you guys, do you guys have anything more to add on the subject that you were covering before you got chopped off?
I think we're good right now, Chris.
Okay. What we'll do then, folks, is press on with a couple of more updates. We have a couple of other guests on the line who've been very patiently waiting, and I thank them for that, in the form of Brad and Bethany. Morning, Brad and Bethany. How are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Brad, are you with us?
Sure.
Yes, Chris, I'm here. Sorry, I couldn't unmute there for a second.
Yeah, everybody does that. Not a problem there. Now, Brad's been very much, in fact, Brad and Bethany both are very much involved in the Absolute Data Exchange website. They're doing an incredible job of collecting a massive number of current email addresses for all sorts of government, financial, local government, political organisations across the planet. And Brad's update today was on that subject of gathering data across the planet. Big job. How's it going, Brad?
Yeah, busy, Chris. We've got, strangely enough, coincidentally, I just added up the countries that are working away at the moment. We've got teams in United States, Australia, in the UK, Sweden, Holland, New Zealand, South Africa, Bulgaria, Norway, France, Germany, Canada, and Romania. That adds up to 13. We need some more countries.
There's plenty more out there.
So, just a couple hundred more would be good, help as that is. But, look, last night had the entire European Union politician list go in, about 800 members. So that was a pretty big achievement there, and that was done conjunction effort there between New Zealand and Holland.
Excellent.
So they did really well.
So the objective is to cover off as many countries as possible, so that at some point, any individual on the planet could actually go to this website and email almost the entire system in one hit, should you so desire, if your email will take it. In fact, Brad, have you worked out if there's an upper limit in common programs like Outlook to the number of people you can actually email in one hit? Have you actually hit the ceiling yet?
Look, I've actually done a bit of research on that. I don't know about Outlook, but certainly I think a lot of the web-based email providers, your Gmails, Yahoo, etc., I think can only do about 99 emails at any given time, so email addresses. So some of the countries that are in the database, USA, for example, has got hundreds of email addresses in there. So when a user copies them out of the database itself, the idea is to go to your own email account, put those email contacts into the BCC field of your own email address. Probably might be an idea to perhaps paste them into an Excel spreadsheet and just sort of do 99 at a time, because I'm not sure whether or not the webmail providers would provide any alert back saying that those emails didn't get through.
Yeah, I've experimented with Outlook a bit, and it can. I'm sure it can take in excess of about 200. But as you say, if you're intent on doing a big mail out, do it in chunks. And the best way, what you've done, identified, is actually a good way to do it. If you're fluent with Outlook. If you're not, you could do it by just pasting the material into even just a blank email message, and doing them at a relatively low number at a time. So if you want to do 300 or 400, maybe do 60 to 80 at a time, and do it in 4 separate emails. Now, just to run through, the reason why we're manually copying and pasting is so that the emailing is coming from different addresses, and not through, if we set up an automated system where you just emailed out of, for instance, one IP address, using the Absolute Data Exchange, it would be identified as a spam source and cut off from a lot of systems.
That's pretty much right, yeah. So the idea being sort of spread the IP address love, send it from your own email account. That could be theoretically set up in the Absolute Data Exchange through the server, but as you said, there'd have to be an outgoing mail server, and the system would pretty much quickly identify what that is. So there is logic behind the way it has actually been set up. Some people have sort of fed back that it is a little bit painful, but look, there's a lot of people trying to put a lot of data in there. That we're getting a bit of feedback also from people that are using it, that there's different, like the United States, for example, there's a few variations on the way that country is categorized in the database. A lot of that's result of we've got a lot of data coming in. We don't have a lot of people in there sort of sorting through the data as it's coming in. It's coming in 2 different ways. We've got teams that are working around the clock using Excel template spreadsheets and sending everything that they find in one hit, and then that's imported into the database. And then there's also the ability for people to input via the actual website itself. There is an add a contact section where you can add contacts into the database one by one. When this is done, just like to point out to people as well, that the contacts that get put in that way still need to be verified by the Absolute Data Exchange crew inside there. And as you can appreciate, there's quite a lot of information going in. So we're working as quickly as we can, because we don't want to put information out there that's incorrect, that bounces back. So a lot of this stuff's still got to be verified once it goes in. There is a bit of technology in there that assists in that process. So it's not sort of, manually done everything, but it is a lot of work. So anyone who wants to volunteer to help, please get in touch with us through the Absolute Data Exchange website, and we can have a chat to you about your skills and talents and how they may assist. So as I said, 13 countries, lots more to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that, even 13, that's a massive amount of work, because what folks have to realise, these addresses are being kind of harvested off, and this is us doing the harvesting, folks, harvested off individual pages on websites a lot of the time. It's just a matter of laboriously working your way around a website and harvesting from them.
It's a good way to get to know your government, because it's all out there. It's all publicly available information. None of this has been gleaned from any untoward sources.
Nor has it been purchased from the sorts of companies that actually do this kind of work professionally. They're the ones that, in fact, Caleb is talking about, the ones that are doing that kind of, information extraction and for profit.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there's lots of people that will sell you representation to your own political system. We've found that definitely. But look, it's just condensing all the information that's freely available around the world. There's still lots more to go. So, if you're looking for information in your country or in your area, and you're not finding anything there, and you want to get on board and start contributing and filling up the database, please get in touch with us, and we'd love to have all aboard to help.
Yeah, it's a boots on the ground situation. So if anyone's got an inclination, it's all database type work mainly that you need to do. Apart from, do you need more people collecting?
That's right. Yeah, we do really need people collecting. So that just involves sitting at home. You have an Excel spreadsheet on one side, and then you just go onto Google and jump onto your government websites and just try and find anyone that's and also of course the banking financial slavery system websites where there's contact.
Yes, we need lots of help. So if anyone wants to contact me on Facebook or Skype, feel free to do that. So my Facebook name is Bethany Truex, and then my Skype name is Bethany.Truex2.
Okay, so you're acting as coordinator for pulling in new people to help?
Yep.
Excellent. That's great. So, well, thanks for the update on that, Brad. And it sounds like things are actually proceeding apace, which is really good. Now, are you finding people are starting to get in and do their own little campaigns?
Well, actually, that's a good point. We're working at the moment on adding campaign functionality to the data exchange site. So we're going to try and approach that in two different ways. At the moment, when people create their own account in the site, there is, I'll just click over to the website just so I can sort of explain the path. In the categories section, which is the third tab along the main set of tabs, at the very bottom of the drop down there's a section called Read My News. Now, in that section, people can actually update information, and it'll come out on the little blog feed that runs down the side of most pages in the website. In there, if anyone needs assistance, if they're looking for people to come and help them, send foreclosure flyers to assist them, that's a great place to do it. Moving forward beyond that, and the big foreclosure flyer flash mob campaigns, we're looking at putting up a calendar section where people can actually look in advance on the calendar and join in on the action and informing.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a matter of supporting each other. This is our enforcement, as Heather likes to say, supporting each other all the way through, keeping that energy flowing back into the system, returning it to them.
That's right.
It's the right thing to do. And on that,
merely informing and asking questions.
Exactly.
And the whole intent. Sorry, Chris.
No, you go. You're good.
I was just going to say, the whole intent behind the Absolute Data Exchange is that all of this is done with absolute honour and integrity, accountability and transparency. It's not meant to, be used to bully or send negative energy. It's done, purely with all the ideals that I think are encompassed in the UCC One People's Public Trust filing.
Indeed. Now, Bethany's got a couple of email projects coming up. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, we have one tomorrow as a second flash mob, and then it sounds like we'll be doing it every week, and then we'll be improving it and working on trying to make it a little bit easier, right, Brad? What were you talking about? Something that you could do that made it easier?
Sorry, Bethany, I can hardly hear you there.
Oh, sorry. You were talking to me earlier. I was asking you if there was an easier way to send out the emails, and you were telling me about something.
An easier way to send out the emails. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Thanks for reminding me there. A bit of feedback that did come is because people use all sorts of different platforms of computers. And Chris, actually, I think you identified this. It was the request for a button to appear underneath the list of the email addresses. So when you see the email addresses, once you've searched for your particular category of what information you're looking for, the email addresses will appear as a great big group of email addresses. Now, you can either drag your mouse over those and copy them, but if you don't have a mouse or a system that makes that process difficult, at the bottom there's now a little button. You just push the button, it will load all of those email addresses onto the clipboard as if you'd actually cut and paste and drag the mouse over it, and from there you can go straight to your email, right click, control paste, however you do it. But that's now a new little function that's just appeared this week. Should get a bit easier.
Excellent. So, Bethany, the email blast for tomorrow, where can people find details about that?
On Facebook. Otherwise, I can also post it for the people on Skype who don't have Facebook.
Well, obviously that would be good. So it's your Facebook page that people go to?
No, it's an event page.
And
my computer's really slow right now. I would give you the link.
Yeah. Is it a link you can read out so people can search on it?
Brad, do you have it?
This is your Facebook one. Hang on a moment. I will try and put it for you.
Computer's too slow. Sorry.
Yep. Well, I'll put that into the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else to add, Bethany, while we're doing that?
Just that we could use as much help as we can get.
Yep. Well,
lots of work to do.
We all need that. That's great stuff. Okay. Well, what we'll do then is
Bethany's doing a fantastic job organising these. Sorry, because I was just going to say Bethany's doing an awesome job. She's communicating with hundreds of people all over the world, trying to let people know when these events are on. But we don't want to stop people from just going out and doing it whenever. If you feel the need, you think that the time's right, and you want to send out a bit of a message to the system, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for the campaign. Just do it, and then. But these campaigns are great to send a really big message out there that we're aware that they're aware.
Yeah. Look, there was a flash mob that was particularly we think was particularly successful last week, which was actually came out of the Freedom at Last forum. It wasn't. I'm not sure if they did it through the Absolute Data Exchange, but Karen Hudis is an ex-IMF bank. A bank lawyer, and actually, I hate to say this, I hope you're sitting down, an honest lawyer working for the government, no less, or at least part of the financial system, who got illegally fired some years back and has created so much difficulty for them because she was putting truth out there. They decided to attempt to silence her by bringing some sort of charge against her, and a flash mob formed and apparently hammered home the message, and the charges were dropped. Now, there may have been other reasons for it, but I'm sure they added to it. So these things have a very real effect, and as we go on, we'll start gathering information about the actual flash mobs and the effect they're having. Because that's the key thing. This is just us saying to the system, that it's time to change. We're not doing this the right way. We all need to work together.
Yeah, totally.
That's the intent.
And a lot of it has to do with your energy when you're sending it out as well, because I sent out a courtesy notice for a seatbelt ticket, and I haven't heard anything back.
And how long ago was that?
It was about a month ago.
Yeah, well, see, that's it. It's just that gentle push away saying, no, this is not the right thing to do. And as soon as Brad said, there's no bullying here, there's no attack. It's simply a message, positive message and information. And that will have the greatest effect on the system.
Exactly. And the more people that send this message out, and I think the more lawyers and politicians are going to feel that, the true ones, the real ones. We've got Anne Bressington here in Australia, and she's been extremely vocal, and in support of lots of different things, but including the One People. But more and more will come out, the more we stand up, and the more that they feel like that, the people will listen to them, and like that guy that was in the European Parliament that's in Scott Bartle's latest video.
Yes. In fact, we're going to be pulling Scott on in a minute, and that video is particularly good. He really nails it. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, what did you think of it, Brad?
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah.
It's a little video that actually addresses what the banks are really doing when you enter into a loan agreement with them, interspersed with this commentary from a European, and actually an Englishman in the European Parliament, who is basically ripping them several new ones, and making a very good point too. That mess in 2008, the banking semi-collapse, no one went to jail. Not one banker went to jail, and there's a statute of limitations on that sort of thing, particularly in the US, of about 5 years, and it's about to expire. So I'm here to tell you folks, no one will ever go to jail for that, which is, again, a disgrace.
We're losing you a bit there, Chris.
Oh, sorry. No, you're losing me, are you?
I was.
Okay. All right. Well, what we'll do, guys, is press on to the next subject. But for both Brad and Bethany, thank you for your fantastic efforts. And what's really interesting, Brad, as in the coordinating group, Brad, just as a question, how many countries are involved in the sort of core coordinating group for the website?
Well, that was the 13 that I mentioned earlier, which I'll post in the chat here. So they're the main ones at the moment. Look, we know that there's lots of other groups around the world that are running on Facebook pages and trying to get their message out there. We'd encourage all of them. If we don't know or haven't made contact with you guys, please get in touch with the Absolute Data Exchange. We'd love to draw on more of the collective effort out there, because I think when you see the action that goes on in the rooms where the data is being collated, and the teamwork that's going on globally at the moment between these 13 countries.
Whoops, yes, I can finish.
There he went.
The teamwork that's going on between the 13 countries is absolutely stunning, and this is truly the co-creation by the collective that we're looking at here, and it's really great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really great thing to observe. It's a great thing to be part of. Okay, I'll just terminate Brad's signal there, because that's actually a server going down that noise. So. Oh, okay. There you go. I hope Brad's not getting undue attention. Okay, the website name is absolute-data exchange, and is it .com, Bethany?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
Yep,
yeah.
.com, yep.
.com. So absolute-data-exchange.com. It's looking like it's going to be the biggest source of email addresses and a technique for getting those emails out, for the foreclosure flyer, for whatever piece of information it is you want to get out there. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Yes,
okay. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it from everybody.
Thank you.
Now, what we'll do now is I'm going to pull in Scott Bartle. And good morning, Scott. Probably taken him by surprise.
Morning.
How are you, Scott?
Hang on, let me just hit the pause button on the radio show.
Good idea. Otherwise you'll be hearing yourself speak, kind of.
I'm a little bit behind. Carry on.
No worries. Well, actually, we've come to an update from yourself right at this point.
Right. Okay.
We got on to the subject of the video that you finished and posted last week.
Right. Yep.
about the actual technique the bankers are using to fraudulently issue money.
Well,
yeah. so-called money.
Yeah, credit.
Yeah. Can you hold just a sec, Scott, there? Hey, Brad, can you hear me? Yeah, I think Brad's getting some severe interference there, so I'll just have to shut that down and keep on going with Scott. So tell us about the video, Scott.
Right. Well, basically, there was all this information that was coming up. It was magic. Folk were sending me these little snippets from gentleman here in Perth actually tracked down the Bank of England publication and sent me that one. And then there was, I think, another one from Melbourne sent me the IMF publication. And the IMF publication really just nailed it. It said that banks don't need depositors to be able to lend money. They do it. They create the money when you come to the bank for a loan. Now, to put that in plain language is basically they need you to get the money to loan, in inverted commas, back to you. So you're the source, not them. And the word loan is a complete misconception, and it's full-on unjust enrichment on behalf of the banks. So I thought I'd put that into a little 5-minute clip that people could pop onto an iPad or walk down to their bank and say, hey guys, have a look at this. And it's all fully referenced from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Chicago and Dallas to the Bank of England, the IMF, and an attorney who worked with the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland and New York. So it's all fully referenced. It's out there that they deposit your promissory note or your application as cash. Now, I think Heather gave a little bit of background on exactly the mechanics of that and how it's deposited through the central banks, and then there's a mechanism within the application form that allows the bank to be an accommodation party and gets access to that deposit or the original issue deposit or currency. So it's pretty interesting how they actually do it, and I'm sure there's a large majority of those who work at the banks who have no idea. So I thought we'll quote all of those publications at them and ask if they do the same thing. And if they don't, then they should be able to demonstrate the prior ownership, rights and title to that money that they did loan you. So
indeed. So the video is interspersed with comments from that European politician.
Yeah.
Whose name escapes me. Do you remember the gentleman's name?
Jeffrey Bloom. He's absolute gold. He really gets stuck into the bankers, just rips them a new one, as he said.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is that this information that you've made so clear in your video is becoming common knowledge.
It is, yeah. It's brilliant.
And as he said, what the banks are actually doing is counterfeiting. They're doing it digitally, but they're counterfeiting.
Well, you think of it in another way. If we were working on let's just go back to the gold standard, for example, they would need to have a really big size pile of gold to be able to pull out a couple of chunks of it, coins, say, and say, here you go, you can borrow that, and you'd have to give it back. It's like me asking for a screwdriver to borrow from you. You couldn't lend that to me if you didn't have it. So because we're working in this world of Ponzi money, of Federal Reserve notes and the like, that these things are sort of tapped into existence based on a promise. It's not backed by someone who's spent years and years of hard work creating it. And that's where I was actually going when I first put that video together, was how do I do this? How do I show that aspect that we think when we're going along to the bank that we're borrowing money that has taken years and years of hard work, just like we work hard to create the money that we're exposed to. And that's the thing, our concept of money is that it takes a lot of effort and energy to earn. We put in the 40 hours a week or more. Some guys are putting in 80 hours a week. And you're doing this for years and years on end till you retire, till you fall over. Now that's our idea of money, because that's what we have to do to put food on the table. But when you go along to the bank, that's not the kind of money that you're borrowing. You're borrowing this credit that's come into existence from depositing your promise as cash.
Now this gets back to transparency in the system, which is what Project XIII is all about, and what the current system is all not about. Because the big message I get from this line of information is that you think the bank's the creditor, you think they're supplying a value, but they're not. It's actually you.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've, again, it's another one of these situations that's been completely turned around, and, going back to the original UCC filing, that was all based around deceptive acts and practices.
Yep.
And this is in your face, mountains of evidence that that's exactly what's been going on.
Well, that's the benefit of actually asking for the rights, title and ownership of the funds, I'll call them funds, that were loaned you.
Yes.
Now, if it turns out that you were the source of those funds, then the idea of a loan falls completely on its face.
Yeah.
And if it was a loan, then the bank should be able to go, yeah, sure, look, here's the rights and title to that. We've got it from this place, and go back three owners past into history to be able to demonstrate that it was legitimate money. And, I mean, for example, you can quote the money laundering as an example as to why that's important. If you were transferring massive amounts of money, they would want to see example that you had the rights and title to that and it wasn't laundered money. And yet when you go along to the bank and say, hey guys, can you show me the prior rights, title and ownership of these funds that you purportedly loaned me, they go dead quiet, start saying, oh, we don't accept the method you're attempting to settle your account with, and duck and dodge and hide and run away.
Yeah. If you should be able to walk in with a promissory note and actually virtually pay any debt, or any apparent debt.
Yeah. So say you wanted to make another purchase of something else, using all of those publications that they work by, they should be able to deposit that as cash and go, there you go, there's the money. That's an exchange. It's not a loan, though.
Indeed. You spoke earlier when we talked of a court case going on in Ireland that was trying to bring this right into as being a central issue in the case itself. How's that going? Again was made aware of that by a gentleman in Perth who found that Bank of England publication. Mm-hmm. It's a case which is, I suppose, interesting in one point and valuable from the aspect that they now have a purported court actually exploring within a full trial the issue of securitization of a mortgage. Now, that, I suppose, I view it in one way as good that they're discussing that matter and pulling apart, and we'll go through the full disclosure or discovery process in that trial. On the other hand, my belief is if they're simply or only dealing with securitization, that's a double-edged sword, because my knowledge of securitization is it's the sale of a debt. Now, the prerequisite to such a sale is that there is a debt. Now, that's where I believe you can actually do yourself a disservice if you argue purely on the sale of this debt to another third party that you don't have a contract with. Is you're in one way arguing that there was a debt in the first place to be sold. And what we're finding is from all of these publications from these reserve banks and the IMF and Bank of England, the whole lot, is that there was no debt in the first place. Yeah.
So I'd say it's quite dangerous to argue the securitization. It is a tool that gets a certain result, but there was another video that came out of South Africa just recently, and I think it was the banker who summed it up and said, look, if it's simply a matter of us correcting the paperwork and it's the third party that comes after you instead of the bank that comes after you, or the holder in due course, then that's what we'll do. So that's why I put that little video out, is if there was no loan in the first place, there was no loan.
Yes. And the name of the video, Scott?
Bankruptcy. I did a little bit of a play on words. It's BANCORRUPTCY on YouTube. Bankruptcy.
It's also posted on the IUV blog, if people want to find that and go and have a look at it. And lastly, Scott, the court case that's going on in your neck of the woods with Uwe Schäfer, how's that coming along?
It's growing in support. There's been a vast amount of people who've actually donated to assist Uwe in doing that. He has I suppose, an ace up his sleeve and has the capacity to showcase some of the skullduggery that's going on by the banks. So yeah, he's still looking for support on his website, freespeechaustralia.org, for that matter.
Yeah, Uwe's actually a former financial services advisor, I suppose.
Finance broker. I think he used to write up loans.
Yeah, and so he's got a detailed knowledge of exactly what goes on inside the industry, and he put his own place into deliberate foreclosure, again, to test the system, somewhat like what Heather did. But his objective is to, again, get the contractual issues in front of the court in a manner that they just have to pay attention to, that they can't not duck shove, which is their usual technique.
And yeah, we'll say purported court, because...
Yeah, purported court, per se, because if you do want to go to court to test these things, you've got to recognise you're playing in a completely fictional playground still. And
well, we've seen examples where they just completely ignore all of those sort of facts.
Yeah, and
it's like, oh, we're not looking at that today. Let's move along. You signed this, did you? Oh, you have to pay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's not justice, of course. That's simply the courts working for the banks.
It is, yeah.
And that's something that at some point will also be brought out.
Well, there was just interjecting. There was another friend of mine who was in there exploring a mortgage for the same bank in the same court, purported court, and she actually called out the judge and said, "Who are you working for? Are you the judge or are they the judge?"
What was the response?
We'll defer our judgment till later on.
See, they know what's going on, and they must be aware that the gaze of the people is upon them, and that their particular, if you like, unlawful foreclosure machine that's been created in a lot of countries. This whole system of foreclosure grinds on like a machine. And that is completely unlawful.
And there's still folk that are getting run through the system and squashed.
Yep, we need to support those folks as much as we possibly can. And the Absolute Data Exchange is the way to go. Supporting Uwe has a donation button on his website, which is freespeechaustralia.org. Have I got that right this time, Scott?
freespeechaustralia.org, yes.
Yes, there's a donation button there, and if you can put a few dollars Uwe's way, because Uwe has actually enlisted the support of a lawyer who is very aware of how the system works against the people, and is going to...
barrister, yep.
A barrister, and is going to assist Uwe as much as possible, but obviously there's expenses involved. Mm. And it's one of those kind of flagship cases that we really want to go our way.
Mm. The other thing I'd float the idea of, and I'm yet to put pen to paper to draft this document, but I see the thought is there are still a large demographic of folk who are still paying their mortgages for whatever reason, they don't want the pressure or whatever, doesn't matter. One of the tools that I was looking to create, and maybe we can inspire folk to come up with something really simple as well, is something that goes along the lines of, well, here's my payment, and by the way, should it turn out that this was not a loan, and that in fact my promissory note or application funded or was the basis for the money that was made available to me, and in fact this was not a loan, then I'd actually want all of my supposed repayments back, and I want treble damages to the value of the contract that you seek to extract from me over the course of the 25 years. But in the meantime, here's my payment, but in the event that happened, then I want all of this back plus damages, and put that on the name of an individual at that bank, and see if that helps encourage those bankers to go and do a bit of researching. But if that's coming in from folk who are paying, then the communication, I think, is a lot clearer in terms of you're not instantly judged, oh, you're dodging payment or whatever. It's actually, oh, maybe I could look at this.
That's a very, very interesting approach. It's almost a courtesy notice style approach, where you're potentially you could almost make it a contractual situation, almost.
Oh, definitely.
So if they accept your payment, they are accepting a contract.
Well, no. Let's say the contract is along the lines of, if it eventuates that the source of the funds derived from the borrower's promissory note, in accordance with all of those publications, that this was not a loan, and my repayments are to be refunded plus damages.
Yeah. So it would kick in if it turns out that it wasn't a loan.
Yeah. So at the moment, that's a safe way, I'd say, of putting it out there, because you're making your payment. And at the same time, you're just saying to the banker, if it turns out that this was funded in this manner, then I'm coming after you for repayments.
Yeah.
Plus damages.
Yep.
And if, let's say, the number of folk who started putting those notices to the bank, because the bank's got no leverage to come after you, because you're making your payment.
Exactly. They can't complain to the court.
And I'm just putting that out there as a possibility for folk who are in the situation where they feel that, oh, I have to make my payment. Yeah,
well, if you want to make a statement to the bank of your position, the way you feel about things, that certainly is one way of doing it. It certainly puts them on notice that there's a potential problem. Because what we're finding, folks, is that these more nefarious things the banks are doing are carried out in compartmentalized departments in the bank. People forward loans to these little faceless entities in the bank, and they really don't know what's going on inside them. They're never told. And it's only the people in those areas that are actually processing these in the fashion we're describing that will know exactly what's going on. And I suspect that those folks are under non-disclosure agreements that would be probably quite punishing if they broke them. But if there any are out there who have a conscience and want to come forward with information, I would encourage them to do so, because of the degree of sheer angst that it's causing right across the world community, because it's happening worldwide. There's a template being run worldwide in virtually every Western country. This is going on.
Yep. And we know all of these banks are hooked back to those Federal Reserve banks in the States.
Yes, they are, indeed.
So it's not unique to the US.
Indeed, it isn't. Now, Scott, what we'll do is we'll move on to some questions, because we've got about 6 people with their hands up. So if you want to hang about, and we've actually also got Ken Bartle on the line here. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Chris, and hello, world.
Yep, Ken actually is one of the people who deals with the the FORAPAC email address, which I presume is a very busy thing still, Ken. Is that still going on?
It's actually fallen away a little bit, would you believe, which rather suggests that the need for more information now is falling off. And that's partly because I suppose I've been hammering away that people really need to read the guidelines, and I think that message is getting through.
Yeah, well, that's a great thing. Well, guys, I'll take some questions, and we've got about 20 minutes to the end of the show. There's probably a couple of announcements at the end, and we'll start off with area code 646.
And I'm
Hi,
still
area
the first one in line, even though
still
I
the
got
first
on a
one
little
in
bit
line.
late. Still the first one in line. How's everybody doing tonight? Much love to the chat room. Much love to Mark out there chatting it up in the chat room. Much love to Diane. Everybody, Chris, how you doing? You're holding the show together so well tonight. I appreciate it, man, with the absence of Dee and Lisa, and can only hear Brian just faintly in the background. It's so wonderful to be here again, guys.
It's great to have you on, Prince.
Weekend. I'm sorry?
What's happening, Prince?
Oh, not much, man. Just a lot of anticipation over the weekend. Everybody heard Project XIII was launching on Saturday. Then that doesn't happen, and then Monday comes, and I still can't buy some bread. So you can imagine a little bit of frustration ensued all day trying to figure out where the updates were coming from. So then we get to the show, and more waiting ensues. So it's like, a little more frustration ensues. I appreciate all the doing and being, but I just feel like, a representation is, not what I want to be a part of, man. I just want to go out here and do what I got to do. We're the gold and the silver. I mean, why do we need any diamonds or any paper to show that? Like, I'm here. I'm slapping you 5. Here you go. Let's make some life happen. I don't know. I just wanted to say I don't believe in any representation anymore, guys. I just want to live. How many times did I say that already? What can I say that I haven't said already?
You haven't said hurry. I think hurry up and wait is the term that comes to mind for me. And look, I'm feeling all of the same feelings that you are. And we know the guys are working as hard as they can. It is a very frustrating thing at the back end of projects like that when you've done a massive amount of work and then someone starts putting paperwork issues in front of you. And that's the only thing holding up the Project XIII release at this stage is some arrangements with vendors, because it's being distributed. It's being distributed externally for a couple of the different types that are going out there, and unfortunately, you're now dealing with third parties, which is always a bit of a pain. But what did you think of the idea of that accommodation contract? That sounded like an interesting development.
What you said, combination contract? I'm not even sure what that is.
It's accommodation contract. Did you hear that earlier in the show when Brian was talking about a contract that Heather was creating for people to use with each other, about how they're going to manage what?
Yeah, if you can just lightly explain it real fast.
Okay, if I wanted to essentially do commerce with you, and we want to disclose how we're going to actually deal with one another. You could do it verbally with a handshake, should you so desire. That's something you could choose to do because you're both absent limits. But should you want to have a carefully defined situation, an accommodation contract is something where the two-way flow of whatever it is that you guys are deciding to do, information, trade, whatever it is, create something together, everything is clearly defined in both directions.
Okay.
And the contract's written...
That sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's actually written in the sort of language that I presume that the IUV is written in, as far as the type of language in the document itself. So it's actually written from what I've come to call the absolute. Okay, and so it's not a UCC filing. It's not an old system statutory law type document. If you like, it's a new paradigm document. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it actually does and how it works.
Yeah, I really dig that, and that's something that might be pretty useful for a lot of people. But again, for me, I mean, that's just like you said, it can be just as good as a handshake. So, it comes down to recognition of what people recognize. There's a lot of people who are just stockpiling resources and don't know how to distribute it because they don't know who would be worth what they have. It's like you're going to take my fishing pole and, make a lampshade out of it. I don't know, whatever. Not use what I have for its purpose. So I can understand how people don't want to just release all this resources to people who can probably, squander them pretty easily. So, that's one understandable method of controlling these resources. But again, I'm just, I'm a poor young black man from America just trying to, find a foothold in this planet. And now that all of my intentions that have been intrinsic in me are now externally expressing themselves in certain types of way, I feel like, I lived this way my whole life, and there shouldn't be any representation for what we want to do. Unless, you want that, then that's cool. But that's the problem.
Yeah.
No one recognizes what's important. We think that money is or something else is, not the life of a guy, who's dying on the street. Nobody cares about him.
Yeah. Well, the accommodation contract actually deals with and I've only just heard about it this morning, so I'm just reinterpreting what they've told me, but it actually deals with an agreed representation. So if you want to use representations, if it's convenient, you can, but there's full disclosure on exactly what you're doing. It's not a hidden use of your value. It's representing your value in a transparent way, which is really important. So, you could set up a situation where you and I could actually use poker chips and nominate a value for them and trade with them. Or we could use an existing actual
as far as
fiat
making
currency.
people aware of what's going on. I can
Exactly. So everyone knows where they.
That.
Yeah. So do I. Look, as far as actually accessing through the universal exchange, again, we're all in the hurry up and wait mode. So I just ask everyone to be patient for a bit longer.
All right, well, throw that to my stomach or whatever. I don't know. I'm being silly again, but I appreciate it, guys. I definitely love to play devil's advocate, come out here and set a little bit of controversy and try to light some fires under people because in the beginning I didn't feel like people knew the breadth of a lot of people's plight. But, as the success stories came out and as, some failure stories came out, I think a lot of people are waking up. And like last week, a young lady got on and, had some good energy. And I felt like, yeah, she's frustrated too. I want to find somebody who's frustrated enough to be, proactive, not bring that type of, negative energy, of course, but transmute that frustration into like the real doing and being that needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, if you want to do some real doing and being, jump in and grab some email addresses from the Absolute Data Exchange and let people know. Prince, I'm gonna pop you back on hold. It is great to hear from you. I'm glad you're still hanging in there. And
Thank you.
We'll catch you. You'll probably be first up next time. Cheers.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Love you, mate. Bye-bye. Okay, we'll go straight to the next caller. Area code 831.
Hi, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, your name again?
This is Lucklight.
Lucklight, how are you?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, about the accommodation contract. Now, how would you relate that to like a private party contract?
Sounds like it to me. I mean, you have as much information as I do at this point, but if we're in the absolute, then we're all individuals dealing with individuals, so it actually can't be anything but a direct one-on-one contract.
Right. And I wanted to speak on earlier when Scott was talking about the bank, like how they finance those mortgages. A good example that I came up with was when you go to a company that's buying notes, like receivables, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go in there and you can sell them a receivable note for like lottery winnings and stuff. And it's the discount for the sale on the future payments, right? So that's what the banks are doing is they're monetizing your future payments, and they're looking into it and finding out how good a candidate you are in terms of being able to make those payments in the future. So I just want to kind of add that.
Yeah, it's actually, if you like, it's kind of a form of gambling. From that point of view, they're actually gambling on the fact that you actually, and it's a pretty good bet because people need a place to live, and want to continue to do it, so they make their payments. So it's a very stable form of gambling, if you like.
Yeah, and I just wanted to also add that you're doing a great job at the helm, Chris. And
thank you very much.
How's it going?
Yeah, look, it's going fine. We were actually quite right. I had arranged these guys to come on just in case the crew in Morocco couldn't get on at all, which was always an option. In fact, they are here at the moment. Are you still with us, Bob? You're probably on mute. I can see them on Skype, but I'm not sure whether there's a real connection there or not. So anyhow, we won't pursue that. But look, everybody's waiting for the next thing to come. Everyone's feeling change in the air, and I keep saying this: when it starts to come, hold on to your hat, because I think it'll move so fast it'll take your breath away.
Right, and the ongoing cosmic joke in terms of the fun involved in this process is that it's already done.
Yeah. Well, at an energetic level, it's been done for some time. I view the system as like a ship, and a big cargo ship, and they're very, very slow to stop, to slow down, even to turn. And it's changing the direction of the great big ship that is the human collective.
Right.
It takes a little time.
Yeah, it's a machine. It works like a machine. And what I've found is that there's actually no one at the top. It's a bit of an AI program.
Look, that's one of the theories that's kicking around. It's a very interesting one. And what's at the top of our system? Is it an artificial intelligence? Is it even human? There's many big questions about that. In time, that I think we'll get that answer.
Yeah, and
but
also,
it'll be the good thing about it, Lucklight, it'll be a case of, you remember that old system that we used to be in? Well, such and such actually used to run that. It'll be from us looking backwards at something that we were in.
Yes, and ultimately, the whole time it was pushing us away for a reason, so we would get here.
Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? No matter what they do, they push us away.
Yes.
Because we're ready for it. Okay,
nice
thank you, Lucklight. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on to area code 336. Better give us your name first up, and good morning to you. Area code 336. Hello. Okay, not getting through there. We'll go to area code 732. Good morning, what's your name? And what can we do for you?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Okay,
Hello?
who are we speaking?
Okay, this is Mark from Jersey, East Coast.
How are you?
Doing well. How's everybody?
We're good. We're just holding the space. And keeping on doing.
Good. Well, listen, I called, I was listening to the call, and I was really intrigued by what you said about the banking system and what they're doing with the notes. However, what I wanted to ask, just for the sake of clarity, is that I see here, basically in the States where I am, that everybody that I come across seems to have a problem with the court system and with their families, mostly their children, and being drugged into court. Of course, we know they're fictional kangaroo playgrounds, and they're being made to pay for having children, so to speak. In a sense, the court is bastardizing their children and pimping out their partners and saying, okay, well, you had a child and you have no choice but to pay into our system so that we can make sure that this child is cared for. And a lot of people have a problem with that. I have a problem with that, with the system being involved with families where I don't believe that it's appropriate for them to tell you what you need to pay or how you need to care for your children, when in actuality you and another individual are the one who helped to co-create that life being brought into this world. So I guess my question is, when they're doing that, is it something similar to what the banks are doing with these loans? But, you know, is it the same type of structure, or is there something different going on there where monetization is happening in a different type of way?
I'd have to say yes, monetization. That anything that goes through a court, one of their objectives is to monetize the situation as much as possible. You know, they always want to make you pay. There's always alongside that objective, and this goes for the mortgage situation as well. There's an agenda of control, and there's also an agenda of molding the population in a fashion which gives them a mindset to simply accept their fate, to actually, you know, be manipulated by the system. So particularly around things that are very personal, like your housing, your loan, you'll find the system is quite harsh. They make judgments and they just won't shift from them. They never shift from them. One of the issues with attacking the way that they actually fraudulently put mortgages through the courts is to actually get them to look at the contracts in a real way. They just won't do it, because if they let one of them get across the line, if one of these court cases is successful, it brings their whole fraud down. So, you know, with a child maintenance case or some sort of custody dispute, anything that sets a precedent, it doesn't help.
Chris,
they never let it across the line.
Chris, can I add to that?
Sure.
Just reading from a document called the Constitution of a company called Law Courts Limited in New South Wales, here in Australia. So one of their objectives within their company objectives is to draw, make, accept, endorse, discount, execute, and issue promissory notes, bills of exchange, bills of lading, warrants, debentures, and other negotiable or transferable instruments. And that's what we're told is a court of justice. Sounds more like a bank.
It does, doesn't it? That what Scott was just reading from was the Constitution of one of the courts in a state in Australia. So their actual Constitution of the court is making money. And that's really the bottom line. Does that help you at all?
Well, that does give me some clarity with regard to what's going on. But I guess my main thrust is that a lot of people just do not know what to do with regard to this, because it's a very emotive situation, and most of the times people don't realize that their emotions are being played with, that these agencies, you know, are just pretty much playing on your morality and making statements, I mean, which will really get anyone in an uproar, you know, trying to make you believe that you haven't been doing what you should be doing with respect to the care and the rearing of your children and your family, and putting you down, and I've even heard horror stories. I mean, I've been in studies immersed for over a decade with regard to this issue because of how important it is. And I have heard horror stories where people have spoken to me and told me, and this is an actual situation that happened, where a guy's name was put into a database. He was summoned to the court.
Mark,
yes.
Mark, yes. Can I ask you just hold for a minute? we're about to lose the stream. We're going to continue with calls afterwards.
Go ahead.
Just hold that thought. Now, for those people who are listening live, we're going to keep going with calls. We've got about another 4 calls to do, so I'll work our way through them after that. Thank you very much to everyone who participated today. That's Brad and Bethany, Jerry, Scott and Ken, and the guys in Morocco who can't hear me. And thank you to the rest of the audience for sticking with us. You know, we're in a really pivotal moment here. It's all heading for a particular destination, and although it seems to be a little further away every week, it's going to hit us very soon. So this has been the One People radio show for this week. And Ken and Scott and Jerry, if you want to say goodbye, now's your chance.
Cheers, guys.
Jerry, you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Cheerio.
Okay. Cheerio. Thanks for your poem.
Really enjoy it. Thanks
Cheerio.
a lot.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll see you next week for those, and for those people who are dropping off, and let's continue with the calls. Okay, so we're talking with Mark from Jersey, and the issue was the attitude of the courts when they're dealing with family material. You there still, Mark?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, look, the courts do some outrageous things, and at times they do it in the pretense that they're actually, you know, if you like, protecting the children or protecting the family. Sometimes they are. Sometimes there are real physical issues. There's issues of, you know, safety of individuals. But a lot of the time they're nitpicking with rules and regulations that they've drawn up from which they actually make a lot of money and screw around with people's lives.
Well, yes, this is true. As I have stated before, I've done over a decade of study, research, and information gathering with respect to this issue, especially for, you know, things that are going on here in the States where I am. And I have connected with people as far west as California, to the middle of the States, and I hear the same horror stories over and over again, where people are forced compulsorily to attend a court meeting. And one particular individual that I know was summoned to a court hearing with regard to a family issue of payment for a child that, number one, was not his, and number two, the woman that was in the court did not know him. And when he got to court and they commenced the action, the first thing out of both of their mouths were, "Who is this?" So she said, "Who is he?" And he said, "Well, who is she?" So they were both in agreement that they didn't know each other. And the woman actually said, "Well, listen, I do not know this man. I've never had relations with him. I don't know him. Who is he?" They still proceeded and put out an order against him, even though the admission in front of the magistrate was, "We don't know each other. We've never known each other. We don't know who each other are, and what are we doing here?" And
well, Mark, that is one of the most outrageous pieces of buffoonery I've heard in a court. And the only thing you can actually do after that particular event is quite literally hold the judge in contempt and attempt to take action against the judge, because he should not have proceeded.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that was done. Several attempts by him, and actually by her working with him. The woman who admitted that she didn't know him, she had a heart, and she had good common sense, and she said, "Well, no, this isn't right because I don't know him." And they made several attempts to have this vacated, and to this very day, they still have not vacated the order. They've still put him under contempt, put out warrants for him to be arrested and jailed for not paying, which, of course, we know debtors' prisons were abolished over 2 centuries ago. And these are just some of the horror stories that I hear. But this gentleman that I know, he's a very stand-up guy. He's intelligent. And I'm just thinking with regards to the courtesy notices, and the foreclosure notices, are those a method by which he can actually take them to task and let them know that, hey, this game is over?
Okay, got to remember that the courtesy notices are an offer to contract. And what they're saying, the answer is that, yes, courtesy notices can have an effect. They'll certainly have a psychological effect, but they're an offer to contract that's set back from a position where you're saying to them, yes, you can hassle me in this way, but I'm going to invoice you if you do so. Now, under those circumstances, if you do it with the right intent and you educate them at the same time as to what's going on, you can have a dramatic effect on an outcome. But if they go hardline, although it will certainly put a spanner in their, if you like, in their emotional body, it's not going to stop them dead in the water. But it does bring to their attention that you're aware that their entire system is actually, at this stage, non-existent and fraudulent. It's difficult to advise whether the courtesy notice would actually push the situation forward in the sense of making them cease and desist, or whether it would actually, simply aggravate the situation. I think they're on very shaky ground legally because they proceeded with an action where the two parties were obviously misidentified. Right. Which is just, it's just an absolute travesty of common sense, let alone justice. And what they really need is a judicial review of the court proceedings, rather than trying to just ask the same judge to vacate the order. That would be my suggestion. Not legal advice, by the way, because I'm not a lawyer. But that appears to be a particularly nonsensical situation. But as far as the courtesy notices are concerned, they always inject a new energy into situations and create knowledge in the system that something is going to shift, and that is their prime value at this point in time. We can see we're starting to get real effects of that through the system.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate.
So it's a long haul. Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, well, thanks for the call.
Okay. And you guys keep on doing the great work you're doing. I'm in full support. And, hey, we'll see where we go from here.
We shall. Talk to you soon, Mark. Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, pressing on with the calls. Area code 951.
Well, that would be me.
That would be you. Your name?
Hi, Chris. My name is Mark Sandoval. I'm in Southern California, actually. And
another Mark?
Another Mark. You're on a roll here today. I've been with you guys from the very beginning. I've been actually like a fly on the wall, just listening to everybody. And like I've been talking with Brian a little bit. And most of the time, all my questions are always being answered. So I never really bothered to call in because I just enjoy the show and the energy and all that's going on. I read your blogs. I'm tapped in. I've started off with American Kabuki last year, and then watched Brian hit the scene, and then when Heather came in, it was just amazing. I've just been on this roller coaster ride from the very beginning, and not so much downs. I've just been really very excited about what's going on here. I do have a question. I know we're probably running out of time here. I guess, to put it bluntly, once we get rolled out with the Project XIII and the UVI exchange comes on, will we actually have purchase power from that?
Well, my answer to that is ultimately yes, and because it can't work any other way. Otherwise, it's not real. And I know that one of the issues in the background is the cooperation of the banking system, which Heather's been chipping away at with, not just a hammer but a sledgehammer. And no, I have some indication that that's progressing forward, and that really needs to happen. But Heather doesn't want to actually give me absolute details at the moment because, it's difficult enough judging how long things are going to take, let alone, what the actual final arrangements would be. But there has to be some method of actually interacting with the whatever's left of the old system at that point in time in order to make it work. A really difficult job, and because this has never been done before, this is all being done on the fly, very unpredictable situation, which is, the difficulty with telling you exactly when that would happen. But there's many and varied ways that you can speculate about how the system would be affected by the appearance of this new means of humans actually trading with one another. And I suspect the system we're working with now would actually start to disappear almost immediately. It will have such a dramatic effect. And the other thing, of course, is there is every indication that we're going to go through a planetary-wide, shift of consciousness over the next few months. That's more and more indication of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's already taking place, in my opinion. I mean, I know with my own experience in the energy and the transitions that my own body is doing is remarkable. I mean, I'm 54 years old, and I've been dealing with arthritis in my back, and it's been really taking a toll on my health in the last 5 or 6 years alone. But yet, the last 4 or 5 months, I'm experiencing a transitioning myself. I am literally feeling more strong, more energetic, more alert, more awake. Like I said, I'm 54 on the down, feeling like I'm going on my way down in my life, and yet all of a sudden I feel more like I'm 38 and getting younger. So
look, I'm getting reports of that. I don't think you're imagining it.
Nope.
I'm feeling it myself. I've got one more year on you. And,
okay.
I don't feel like I'm getting older anymore.
No.
I'm getting tired.
Exactly.
This whole process we've been going through for months. It's a very tiring process from the point of view. Just communicating with people across the planet with our time zone situation is just means your sleep patterns are really disturbed, which is a problem.
I can only imagine.
That's okay. But look, the problem is that whole process is an X factor. Like, when will it happen? How will it actually appear? There's lots and lots of different very sort of views on how that will actually appear, but the common theme through all of them is that it will, and you're feeling it.
Well, I know that. I feel. I mean, there's this tremendous energy shift going on right now, and as long as we can stay focused on the light, stay focused on the positive, and not allow the negative to drain our energy or literally harvest our energy away from us, and keep ourselves on a higher vibrational level, we would be we would ride this wave at the top of it rather than being accumulated on the bottom of it.
Great description, actually. Thanks, Mark. Great description.
Yeah, and it's really going to happen. My biggest and my only concern, really, right now is that I'm around. See, I'm a union worker all my life, 35 years, and I've watched my dad. I'm a third-generation glazer, actually, and I've seen my dad work his 35 years, and he retired, and I watched his pension, which is the same pension that I'm faced with when I go, literally get cut in half twice. And, fortunately he saw it coming, and he made some adjustments in his lifestyle and sold off his houses and purchased out. And so he's not in debt, but the problem is he still struggles on a day-to-day because of all this crap that's going on with our system. And
the system it's disgusting, isn't it? The system has been completely.
I look at the elderly. They live in a very nice place where it's an elder. Senior citizen place, housing park, and I see all these wonderful, beautiful people. I see them all the time because we visit, as family frequently. And, I see the people struggle. And I see, us younger people that have enough energy to at least grind this out for the next 10 years or so. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But, we can get by. We can get through this. But these older people that I see, that I interact with all the time, I just want to help them so bad, and I do the best I can with my love, my energy, my attention. But I want to give more. I want to be able to help them monetarily. I want to go up to them and say, "Here, stop worrying. Let's sit down and talk some more."
Look, that's virtually everyone I talk to who gets this expresses the sentiment you just expressed. Yeah. They want to turn and help across the board. And really that's, I have these arguments particularly I don't have arguments actually. Ken and Scott and I have these raging debates about just what governance will look like and how we'll manage resources and share resources in the future. And the common thread through those is that everyone will literally not have to struggle to survive. It'll be the absolute the reverse. In a previous call, I talked about the courts. It should flip completely the other way. And look, it is so close. It is so close to going in that direction. All I can say is, just hang on.
Chris, listen. I appreciate and love the work you're doing with Julian Wells. Okay.
Oh, it's fun.
What's that?
It's fun. It's great. I love it.
But let me tell you something. And I was talking to Brian about this just before he went on the trip. I had a vision, and it was an incredible vision. As you just were mentioning what you were talking to me about, it just sparked this in me. I've got to spit this out as quickly as I can.
Yeah, we've got three more callers to go, so jump into it quickly.
Okay, here we go. It was an incredible vision, dream, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not this kind of person, but where I channel or do any of this stuff. But basically, I was at a place with people. Kids were outside playing, and I noticed the kids were looking upstairs, up in the sky with their hands up in the air with big smiles on their face. I walked out there, and I looked up, and the sky was filled with every type of ship, size, shape, colors that you can imagine across the sky. Along with that, there was hundreds of thousands and possibly millions of orbs floating all over the place.
Oh,
the
wow.
kids were going nuts. And I came out, and you could just feel the joy. Now watch this. The people that were inside the house came running out to see what was going on. As they came out, a lot of them were doubters or fearful people. But you got to understand this. They looked up to the sky, and they went from immediate fear, in shock, to it was vaporized into joy, love, happiness, and people were just in awe. And there was nothing but love and overabundance of joy. People were holding and hugging each other. There was interaction. The orbs came with characters. I mean, just amazing characters. I can go on and on with this thing because it was like it happened just now.
Oh, look, I know everyone who hears this will get that, Mark. It's in fact, one of the theories about an aspect of the event is that we're going to have a shared dream. The whole planet are going to have a shared dream. Maybe it'll be the one that image you just got there. How about that?
It's amazing. It is amazing. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. As this turns over, as this goes live, and things start funneling out into the hands of the people, and people start getting this thing, people are going to reach out in love, happiness, and joy to embrace each other, help each other, lift each other up, and celebrate with each other. Yeah. That's what I see. That's what I know. That's the hope I'm holding on to.
Yep. Well, Mark, that intention, I think everyone listening to this call has that same intention, and there's more than enough of us now to make it real. Look, thanks for your time. We will move on, but look, great to hear from you. And look, just keep working with what you can, do what you can.
I am. That's right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Guys, all my love, you guys.
You too, mate. Bye-bye. Okay, area code 951.
Yes, there's Lonnie Fraser.
Lonnie?
Yeah.
How are you?
So I have one question. I'll make it quick. What's happening with the RVs? Are they going to, make any changes?
Well, it seems to be, if you like, being agonizingly stretched out over a period of time. But from the little bit of information that I get from Dee, it's still moving forward and expanding, but slowly. But I'm not sure that anyone who's been participating has yet been able to use, if they've been paid out, and apparently some people have, whether they've even been able to use the funds. So,
well, I'm not really care about the money. I care about the other things. Are they going to eliminate the IRS and all this other stuff?
Look, I hope so, Lonnie. And look, one of the issues with the RV is that it seems to be somewhat inextricably involved in the NASARA concept of a refresh of the American system. And if the revaluation happens and the things that you're looking for don't, then we know it's just the system playing with itself at a financial level, and certain parts of the system will profit from, what was an anomaly and an enigma that came out of the Gulf Wars.
Yeah, my daughter just lost her house there in Pahrump, and
I'm sorry to hear that,
the
Lonnie.
IRS are after for the difference in the sale of the house. She owed $200,000, and they sold it for $75,000. Now she's got to pay taxes on the difference. So,
I mean, the system is just completely beyond redemption at this point.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you, Lonnie.
Okay.
Yep. Can you hear me?
I was walking around outside here. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you're early in the morning there, huh?
It's about midday here. It's about midday here, so it's fine here. It's harder for you because it's late at night. But look, thanks so much for following along.
I'm here. What was it? 7:30? Let me look.
Oh, you're 7:30. Okay.
Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time.
PM. Of course, yeah. Yep. Losing track of time at mine.
Okay. Well, let me let you go so you can get done.
But Lonnie, thanks for that, and send your love to all our love to your daughter. We hope you guys get through it.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello.
Hi, area code 203. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing this evening?
Good. Who are we talking to?
You got two of us here, actually. It's Kyle and Derek. I'm Derek. How you doing this evening?
Good, thanks, Derek.
All right, our main question is, if these whole UCC filings have happened, why is it there is people that are in jail still for victimless crimes, where there is no victim or anything involved of the nature?
Well, quite simply because the entire government system essentially was cancelled, and because they still employ a lot of people who run around in uniforms enforcing things, and they don't want to admit that they've been cancelled, the system is still in operation. It's still actually functioning unlawfully, and at some point the penny has to drop, and that will actually self-correct. But I agree with you. Why is it? It just shows how corrupt the system is. The fact that it can continue when it's completely been chopped off at the knees.
Exactly.
Chris, could I jump in on that one?
Yeah, Scott. Scott's going to come in on this, guys.
I liken it to driving without a license. You take someone's license away, it doesn't physically stop them from doing what they're doing.
Exactly. I drive illegally.
So you can basically take the license away. Okay, it's all done on paper, but how do we get that message across? And also, I mean, you think of what these guys are doing and the magnitude of what's been going on. How many criminals do you know who stop when you go and say, "Oh, you're a criminal"?
That's true.
Exactly.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about I'm on probation right now, still from the old paradigm. In victimless crime, it was actually a risk of injury case. I was 19 at the time. I was dating a girl that was 15, consensual, everything. Family loved me, everything. And the state took over and applied prosecutions. So, I had a lawyer that, upon, doing research into the, strawman movement and, finding out what statutes really were and everything, that they convicted me under a statute. And it's just been a journey for me where, I'm on probation, I'm learning this stuff, I'm challenging them, and they're still, trying to intimidate me, everything. And it's like, I've gone as far as getting an affidavit from the victim stating that no harm was done, studying the maxims of law, even under the old paradigm, seeing that, there should be no crime unless there's an injured victim, and there is no victim in my case. So, I'm stuck on probation, and, they put me on a sex offender registry when I'm not a sex offender at all. Actually, older women, older than myself. So
yeah. Look, it's not the only country. Not the only country. Yeah, Kyle. Kyle, this is Kyle. That was Kyle speaking, or Derek?
This is Kyle. Yeah, it actually stopped me from getting a job, everything. It's made my life very, and I just don't know how to get out. I mean, I can hand them courtesy notices all I want, and then they say, oh, whatever. I can bring it into the court, even with my affidavits from the victim. The judge can still say, my whole deal is, with these UCC filings, what are we supposed to do if the judges say, whatever, and just do what they're going to do anyways? I'm lucky where I'm not in jail right now, and I feel like I know enough where I'm never going to go back, but I just want to be done with it altogether, get it expunged off my record so I can live my life and get a job and just, take care of my daughter and everything, It's just...
I actually have, my daughter-in-law has a friend who's had exactly, almost verbatim, what you've experienced happen to this particular gentleman. And he's actually on the sex offender register. It is absolutely, it's outrageous. There's no justice in it at all. It's basically bullying and profiteering.
Yeah.
And
my question is, how do I get out of this now? Do I try the courtesy notices? My buddy was saying that UCC filings are military based, so do I summon the military to court when I go to court if they try to intimidate me?
Well, the UCC filings are actually corporate law. They're high-end corporate law, and it's not a law they teach in law schools. It's only taught and used in corporations, so it's a hidden technology. That's why the courts connect. What it does is it gives the courts an argument that, it doesn't apply to us, which of course it does. And as Scott pointed out earlier, the courts are actually corporations as well. So it's an out-and-out lie that UCC law doesn't apply. And of course, because they run the system, they can break their own rules at any time. Yeah. That's how they make it work for themselves. They break their own rules.
That's actually in the master law that laws bind their makers, and even under their own system, they're breaking their own rules. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out. I just want to get out so I can get a job and live my life. You guys, please help me.
I want to go fishing.
Okay, Scott, do you have any immediate suggestions on things he can do to actually control the situation?
A lot of the times, basically, whenever these guys want to push you around, they've got the force. Yeah. In which case, your free will choice goes out the door. What can you do about that? Not a whole lot, other than to make choices based on whatever is presented to you. It doesn't help a whole lot when we're being pushed around like this. The thing I'm coming to is to share this information with as many people as we can, to the point where it just becomes unacceptable to the masses. If you look at the snapshot of where we're at the moment, is everything's all acceptable. Oh yeah, it's okay for that court to do this, it's okay for this, it's okay for that. Whether it's by how we've been dumbed down or whatever, the snapshot of where we're at the moment is acceptance of what's happening. How do we change that? Is seemingly there's going to be or would appear to be a whole lot of stuff where people are going to get screwed over before it changes. And we're the ones at the moment who are being pushed around and squashed. So, okay, I can't see us changing an individual situation like that by stopping a court, by stopping someone doing those things. I can see value in sharing that with others. And that brings us back to how do we share that in a way that actually has them listen. You can tell a story to someone and they will switch off straight away and they won't receive that communication effectively. So it's like, how do we actually share in a way that has them go, oh, I'm listening. Yeah, that's not right. I don't support that, and get on board. And you probably experience telling your story to others where they just go, oh, yeah, okay, whatever.
Everyone's on my side that I tell it to. They're like, I can't believe that. And it's just, everyone, like the whole, like, you know, if I didn't take a plea deal and I went in front of a jury of my peers, I probably would have won. But at that time, I didn't know enough. You know, I was a kid at the time. You know, and I feel like, you know, doing the invoice, like you know, hitting my probation officer, you know, with courtesy notice, and then, you know, doing invoices. Now, where do we go from the invoices if they don't pay them? Can we put liens on their houses? Can we take their car? What can we do? Because they need to be accountable for this and stop working for the old regime. You know, there needs to be consequences so they stop working for the old paradigm. I would suggest actually researching what can be done for that. I mean, I'm getting right in there at the moment and researching what can be done to follow up these unpaid invoices. And that would be amazing. You guys can get that out there for everybody.
Is other folk as well working on that? It's all well and good saying we do. Well, have a look into it. What can we do? And I mean, I'm researching and reading up on UCC and how we can look at the next step. I mean, I haven't been involved in this sort of stuff. I'm learning as we go. So anyone else?
That's how I've had to do it. I mean, I'm stuck in the system, and I've learned enough now to be able to manipulate the system where I can keep myself out of jail. You know, I don't do anything wrong or anything as it is, but it's just, you know, just to never to go back again. You know, I can try to use their system. I feel like I know enough about their system to be able to beat them at it, but, you know, I feel like my final straw will be the UCC filings. You know.
Well, there's a couple of things you can do on that educational side. You can actually start using the Absolute Data website and communicating it out to all of the people that are involved in your court case, and getting other people to do it for you as well, so that they're not just receiving emails from you, they're receiving, 25, 50 emails from other people saying the same thing, that this action you're taking is unlawful, and that your organization is unlawful. That's one thing you can do. The other thing that where people have... the other, there's been a couple of good successes where people have actually focused on the enforcement the system uses. So, and there's one foreclosure that went down here in the state that where Scott's in, where the couple that were actually resisting the foreclosure courtesy noticed the guy who came to put up the sign on the house. They courtesy noticed the real estate agent. They courtesy noticed the property manager. They courtesy noticed the bank manager. And they seem to have deflected the whole thing, because no one on the ground, once you get past the bank and the court, no one actually wanted to deal with it. Now, if you can get to, for instance, the sheriffs, the way that Daryl Zeleny has been doing, it has an effect. And in fact, yes, you can put liens on them. It's a fairly technical process. And I know one of the things that Daryl's working on, and Scott's participating in this, is identifying the exact process to use for those liens. And, at some point, as soon as they can, the information will start to come out about that particular process. But it's not it's a multi-step process. It's got technical aspects to it, and you have to do it the right way. The problem with it, with Kyle, is when you use the UCC system to make a commercial challenge to somebody, If you get it wrong, the liability comes back to you.
Right.
They can come at you.
But they can't prove what we're saying, though. They'll never come up with the fact stating that they own us, basically.
No, and that's right. But don't forget, they break their own rules.
That's true.
So you have to get it right.
I feel like Magna Carta need to start happening in the courtrooms where the people just start, taking these judges and holding them accountable,
Bring that
Look, the easiest way to it's one line you could take if you want to seek out remedy inside the system, or you want to actually resist the courts. You attack them at the bond level. You actually ask the judge for his oath and bond, because none of them use oath and bond these days, and they should. It's actually they're breaking their own rules really badly there. And there's a website called Sui Juris Me. Sui Juris. It's SUIJURIS.me. And the guys that run that site really focus on challenging the right of the judge to even be seated at the front of the court. Because if the judge hasn't got his oath and bond, he actually can't proceed.
No, because he's not a judge at that point.
Because he's not a judge. It's fraud from the bench if they proceed. And even asking you how like if you refuse to enter a plea and they enter one for you, that's fraud from the bench because they're acting as your lawyer
from behind the bench. Yep. I know that one.
Okay, and I'll make the disclaimer that I'll make the disclaimer that I'm not giving legal advice because I'm not a lawyer.
No.
But that would be a line of research I would suggest you look into if you need to go to court.
Yeah, I've actually looked into it, how to challenge the jurisdiction and everything. I know the whole the trust that's built. And basically, that trust is already gone, though, because now we have the trust with the One People's Public Trust, right?
That's right. And theoretically, those have been extinguished. And one of the issues with if you use courtesy notices, you're stepping into a perspective that you need to hold. If you try and seek remedy in a traditional fashion and use the courtesy notice, you're actually contradicting yourself. Because on the one hand, you're saying you don't exist. But if at the same time you're making applications to the court, dual messages, you see, and that makes them, what they do then is they say, well, this guy's just a nutcase.
Yeah.
Right? Look at all this nonsense he's sending our way, so we'll just ignore him. It's a complicated factor.
Your submission does not imply consent as well, so.
No, it doesn't. Because they break their own rules. So basically, there's no remedy in the courts. See, the Magna Carta came out of a time when there was no remedy. That's what it came out of that time, and it's coming back to that situation now.
History's repeating itself.
History's repeating itself. I really wish that you weren't at the coal front in the way you're describing, but you found yourself in the situation. And look, there's nothing to stop you from sort of researching these areas. And if the mood strikes, if the opportunity strikes, use some of these techniques to forestall delay. Because to be honest, the shift we've been talking about through the show, look, if we make the end of June and publicly things haven't started to shift, I'll be flabbergasted because there's so much stuff going on in the background at the moment.
Okay.
It's like, holy crap, why? It gets back to media control.
Exactly. We need to get it out there through YouTube, through just through the internet. They haven't shut us down yet, so we need to get it out there before that happens.
Get it out there. I mean, educating other people's still the best way of doing it. Absent the mainstream media, YouTube, websites, personal communications. The email out through Absolute Data Exchange. Because you can go and grab a bunch of email addresses and just blast them out there. And
what is that Absolute Data Exchange? Is there a website for that?
Yeah, it's www.absolute-data-exchange.com.
Okay, thank you.
People have been collecting. It's basically the One People contributing, researching and finding large numbers of email addresses for the courts, the governments, financial systems, and other. And because it takes a huge amount of time to put collections together, and there's a whole big team putting collections of email addresses together. So take a look at it, because if you want to hammer your local area, you may find someone's put the data up there already, and you can just go and get the email address.
Okay.
It's something.
I'm going to pass it over to Derek right now. Thank you very much, man. You were very informative and helped me out a lot.
No worries.
All right, gentlemen. My name is Derek. I'm from
now, Derek,
Waterbury.
I'm not sure how this recording will probably terminate fairly soon. Self-terminate. I won't be able to stop it. So if we do get cut off, my apologies in advance.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to try to make it as fast as possible. I'm actually calling in regards to Nasara.
Mm-hmm.
I've studied into things. Just going to introduce myself on a 5D level, if I will. For the first time in history, I guess you could say I'm going to be doing this here. My name is Yahshua Nazaret Derek. Derek is spelled H-A-D-E-R-E-C-H, pronounced meaning the way. And what my goal here is to bring the way to people to this new paradigm through love. And the purpose of it is this calling that I had since I was a child. And I'm bringing this data to the table, that I am somebody who's had this ability to see patterns. And this Nasara word stuck out, and it turned out that it sounds like it's a backdoor route to literally shut off the old paradigm system, but there's a problem. There's a geometrical perspective or a leadership role or that's supposed to specifically say it, and my guess it's President of the United States, which I don't understand. He doesn't exist anymore in accordance to the UCC filings, but if for some reason people stuck in 3D still believe it, he needs to either announce Nasara or he needs to step down, and somebody like myself will step up and step down right after Nasara, obviously, because I have no obligations to be a leader, because that's what he turned that seat into, and it's supposed to be a seat of servitude, and that is a seat that I will actually love to be in, but I would only want it for about a week. And I think every human being on Earth should probably have that kind of seat for a week. I'm starting off going to Africa, getting everybody on board and getting those food in those stomachs that are sticking out and those flies that are on those kids. We gotta get something going. I'm bringing this data to the table. We need to see things change, and that one word has to be spoken. And if I don't see anybody else stepping up to the plate, I've been announcing since 2012, early on Facebook, that I am going to be running for President of the United States. It's a puppet position. It's a BS position. It doesn't really belong out there. This man, they're following him like he's Jesus the Christ. And I'm going to be honest with you, if a name like that, meaning of Zeus, I know my history is about that kind of stuff, if there was a man that walked the face of the earth like that and he was to come back, I'm sorry, but he wouldn't want to come back to something like this. Even though we're trying to do our best, we're not preparing the way. And it's not, he wouldn't be happy. And it's not esoteric, because I don't really believe in a religion, because religions are what destroyed us. It's sun god worship.
Yeah, Derek, did you have a question for us specifically around Nasara or around the presidency?
How can you get me there?
How can I get you there? Well, me personally,
but I don't know. Like, I don't know who to talk to. I've just been out there. I know that this.
Are you talking about enabling you to run for president, which is, as you say, it is a puppet position. It may not exist for much longer, but
I know. But just in case it didn't, I want to be the backup plan.
Yeah, look, if there's ever another presidential election, I think it should be fairly easy to research and find out how to actually get into that role. I'm not sure, because I'm not being in the American system, I have very little knowledge about how the actual nominations take place.
Yeah, that part I don't even know either. As an American, we're kept very, as an American in the public, we're kept very, very, very uninformed politically. We're seeing something on television of the president hitting a golf ball more than him making a real announcement about anything. And then you got people cheering, and I don't hear people cheering. I hear Boz in the background, and I can connect to that because I too was a Bob, man. And you know what's sad is, like, before I really woke up, I actually voted for Bush the first time because I thought the guy was going to legalize weed.
Well, all I can say is we're seeing a completely corrupt system right at the end of its life. The only thing keeping it hanging together is media control, and probably a lot of bribery going on at political level. It can't hang on for much longer. look, if there's, it's a situation
I
where
want to bring the one people's public trust to the table with it, though. The thing is the one people's public trust really, or one people now, they really open the door. And the thing is as a president should disclose such a thing to his people if he's being a servant. And
well, you've already identified the problem. He's not acting in service of the people. He's acting in the service of the people who put him into office. And the system is built that way, and it's run that way, and that is indeed the problem. It's the problem. All of the callers today have been talking about system-level problems, which all go back to the fact that the system doesn't serve the people. There's no justice in the courts. There's no transparency in the financial system. There's actually no transparency in the political system, and through all of them, there's no service to the people. So therein lies our problem. This is why the population are just so ready to shift in another direction.
That is so true.
As I said to a previous caller, if we get to the end of June and things aren't publicly going on, my head will probably explode because I can't see how the system. Well, it's feeding on itself at every level, and that can't.
It's like a parasite feeding on a parasite. If you think about it, parasite feeding on a parasite.
Yep, something has to give, and you run out of parasites in the end. Look, guys, thanks for the discussion, and
I appreciate it. You can find me at www.facebook.com, Derek Joseph Petro, and anybody that wants to go on board that hears this, or if you want to pass the message on in some way, that knows how to give me the tips of getting to that point, that wants to work underground and getting this overground publicly, to getting this word announced. That can really end it, because the farmers already kind of put that in place for us. And I believe Bill Clinton signed for it to happen, and it never happened. And it was supposed to happen on 9/11. We got planes instead.
Yeah, well, we know that there was subverted. Nassar has been kind of hijacked and isn't what it was. So very difficult to know what will become of it. But look, great chat, guys, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Bless you guys. Thank you.
Okay, last caller, area code 860.
Oh, that would be me.
How are you?
Can you hear me? My name's John.
How are you, John?
Good. I did not want to be the spokesperson for our little group that we formed over the past 24 hours due to the recent developments in Turkey. And I just want to put out like a bulletin. We're networking, and we're trying to reach the people in Afghanistan who got arrested, injured, or the families that may have lost a loved one there.
Was that Afghanistan or Turkey?
Them.
Afghanistan or Turkey? Turkey, yep.
Turkey. Yeah. And we're fully funded. We have $500 in a budget to pursue whatever avenues we need to. And a lot of people are coming up to the forefront and stepping up to the plate and really making things happen. And I just wanted to say that we're on OptBook, and if anybody is willing to offer their assistance, that's where you can find us, and you're more than welcome to join in.
John, thanks for that.
Help we can get.
Yep, thanks for that. Look, one of the fantastic things about the internet is people reaching out to help other people. And we're seeing it happen time and time and time again now, and what it tells me is that the people are really understanding that they are one, and when we actually all work together, there is nothing that what we call the system can do to prevent us from actually helping one another. So kudos to you guys. That's great information. So you're on OptBook?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. And you're trying to your task is to try and connect people with their relatives in Turkey who may have been caught up in the riots.
Yeah. Anybody that's been arrested there, injured by by the police. Some people have been maimed. Some people have lost their eyesight. Some people have been killed. So we're just trying to get the message out to them any way that we possibly can, We've got a lot of good ideas. People are networking. They're we just scratched the surface. We've only been doing this for less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
And
Well, if you want
remarkable headway.
Yeah, if you want to push into doing emailing out information in large quantities, the Absolute Data Exchange website's a good place to look at to see if they have the sorts of email addresses that you want to reach, whether it's political. But it's mainly oriented towards politics, finance, government. Okay. But to get the word out, I mean, on Facebook, on the Facebook pages, Twitter, all the usual stuff. And it's great to hear that you guys have just jumped in to help. Well done.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and we appreciate anybody else that wants to come on board. And we've kind of got like a little sort of like a general assembly in the same instances like Occupy. So we're just all pulling together right now. And we don't have no experience in this. This is the first time we've done this, and the people that have came forward so far has just been really remarkable. The love there is you can cut it. It's so thick you can cut it with a knife.
It's real. One of the things that's really useful for coordinating. Do you guys use Skype?
Well, I'm not the most technologically advanced. Other people in the group are more.
Yeah, well, if they use Skype, in Skype you can actually form little chat rooms, and literally if you point them at that chat room from your optbook page, you can get a fantastic instant communication going with people that really kind of explodes the energy. So that's one thing you can actually look at doing. That's how the Absolute Data guys are actually getting help from all over the world to go and find email addresses that we can use for pushing stuff out to the system. They're actually doing it through the Skype chat rooms. So have a look at that, because you can get a lot of instant support going and instant information out and instant information back. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're thinking about trying to reach out to some of the professionals out there, doctors and lawyers and things like that also.
Yeah, well, Doctors Without Borders, it might be a group that you could actually go to, because they do that kind of disaster relief work, and they may help. They may even have people in there already. Hard to say.
That's excellent. That is excellent.
Okay, well, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
we'll
you.
Talk to you soon.
Appreciate everything you guys do. Yep.
You too. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Okay. We have one more person that's popped up. Area code 860. Were we already talking to 860?
Yeah, that's me. Yep, that's me.
That's you?
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, look. Yeah, I'll put you both back on hold. And look, we'll just conclude the show. Thanks to Ken and Scott for hanging in with me to answer the rest of the questions. I think we're still recording. I'll end the show now, and thank you everybody for following along with us. And we'll actually see you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers. Thanks.
Bye bye.